everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the Elite DJs podcast right here on Elite Events and Entertainment. My name is Travis McGuire and I'll be your host this evening. Tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about toxic DJ culture, things that we can do about it. And I'm going to offer some stories, some insights, you can take them or leave them, and then how we can band together against it. So, if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you like this video podcast, definitely give it a huge thumbs up. That way it helps me get a little bit more visibility out there so more people can see this, especially this particular podcast. This one is really important to me because toxic DJ culture has started to really run rampant on social media outlets, specifically Facebook, and I've seen some on YouTube as well. Now, I know that by simply addressing it, we're not going to be able to completely stop it, but at least we'll raise some awareness. I'm going to tell you some of the things that I plan on doing to help try to get some alleviation from it. And hopefully one day make it to where if anyone is being toxic in the DJ world, they're the outcast instead of them trying to outcast everybody else. So the first thing that I want to talk about, we're going to do a couple of gig log recaps. So as you know, we did one really quick gig log recap in the last podcast. That was the DJ Expo recap podcast. So we actually have two gig logs to kind of go through. I'm going to summarize everything. If you want to watch along, video is going to be right here, right next to my right shoulder. So let's click play. The first one, we were at Hotel Distill, downtown Louisville, Kentucky. I actually lucked out the past 2 weeks I was in Louisville, and that in downtown Louisville, and that really, really rarely happens. And the nice thing about that is every single downtown venue is air conditioned. And in Kentucky, that is something that doesn't happen very often. Now, as you can tell in the shot there, I'm not actually driving in my van. This was the day after we got back from DJ Expo. I had to pick up a rental cargo van. And let me tell you, that thing spoiled me. So much room. I was able to put in my totems. I laid them down. I could have stood them up if I wanted to, but I was able to lay them down and still had like an extra 3 feet, maybe even 4 feet. It was nice. The only downside to it is it was one of the really, really tall cargo vans, and I wasn't able to put it in a parking garage. And that really limits where you can park downtown. There's not a whole lot of open lots, and the open lots usually fill up pretty quick because they're usually, they're usually connected to a restaurant or a pub or a bar. And they're really hard to find, but I really lucked out. I found a couple of open spots right across the street from Hotel Distill. Now, Hotel Distill, I've not heard a lot about, so I'm assuming they're a pretty new venue. I was getting ready to do a time lapse with my setup, and then all of a sudden we had to stop because I assumed where I was setting up was where I was going to be, and I was wrong. There was actually a chocolate fountain and a queso fountain in that spot, but they still had me right next to the dance floor, right cozied up next to the sweetheart table with Amanda and Travis. Oddly enough, the groom's name was the same as mine, and I've got another wedding come up where the groom's name is Travis as well. That's kind of odd. We did a lot of uplighting. We did amber. Their colors were white and black, so there wasn't really a whole lot I could do in that aspect. I don't really like washing out a room in white, so they did have a lot of candles on the table, so I chose to uplight the whole room in amber. There wasn't a whole lot of architectural features to highlight in this particular room, so we illuminated some of the walls, made it look attractive. Specifically the wall where the bride and groom would be entering from for the grand entrance. And then we also highlighted the cake table, which was right next to their sweetheart table, to kind of make the cake and the couple a feature of the room. Now, their table was directly in front of a doorway, so there was not a whole lot I could uplight in terms of that. But it ended up being a pretty nice room. I got to work with Anne. Anne is the chocolate fountain lady of Louisville. And she is super, super popular. She does queso fountains. She does chocolate fountains. And she's just a joy. She actually works out at Burn Boot Camp, the same exact place that I work out at. Now, a trend that I've noticed with this year is a lot of parties have been starting out really, really strong. And then they seem to fizzle really early in the night. I think a lot of people have gone to a lot of weddings this year for the simple fact that 2020 put everything on hold and a lot of people moved their weddings to 2021. So not only do you have 2021 brides that you were contending with, you also had 2020 brides that were coming into the mix and kind of stealing some of the principal dates. That's why I've got so many Friday and Sunday weddings this year. I've even got Monday weddings coming up. especially in October. October's stupid. In the next 60 days, I have 28 events. So that's a lot for a single op. Now, as a disclaimer, I'm not doing all of those. I have a couple of guys that are helping me out because a few of them are COVID, what I call relapse. They were dates that lapped over dates I already had booked for 2021. So I'm keeping my 2021 brides, and I'm giving the 2020 brides to Chris and Ray, both very talented DJs. He's an older gentleman, but he's been DJing pretty much his whole life. He was on radio. Then he went to Toyota and worked there for 20 years so he could get a pension and health insurance and all that good stuff, stuff that us DJs don't really get. And then, but he's fantastic. I've learned a lot from Ray the couple of times that he's come with me. The way he interacts with the crowd is absolutely amazing, and a really, really nice guy. Chris has a club background. He's breaking into the mobile world, and every single wedding that he's done for me this year, he's rocked out. He's knocked it out of the park for me. So Chris, if you're watching this too, buddy, thank you very much for all your help. You and Ray both. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you guys helping me out this year with all the craziness. Now, with the gig log format, if you're familiar with watching my videos, you will notice that it has changed a little bit. It's changed in the essence that there's a little bit more fancy editing going on. And especially the dancing portions, the clips are rapid fire. And the reason why is so I stopped getting blocked on YouTube. It's so frustrating when you spend a lot of time editing a video just for it to get blocked. So Rachel Lynch actually said, well, try making each clip of each song less than 5 seconds. So I do 4-second intervals for each clip, and it's worked. Haven't even gotten a copyright claim on any of the videos that I've done this with yet. So thanks for the advice, Rachel. It's working perfectly. And the gig logs, I think they're really starting to look fantastic. They're a little bit more flashy than what I normally do. But I'm trying to get video retention. This particular gig log sitting at 300 views, which is actually quite a bit for me for a video that's only a week old, and it's got 21 likes. 1 thumbs down. Oh well, can't win them all. So that's pretty much the end of that gig log. Like I said, I was super, super spoiled with that cargo van, and we're actually considering going out and purchasing one. So the next gig log was just a couple of days ago. It was at the Henry Clay. I've been there before. It's an amazing venue. The rooms are fantastic. I've DJ'd both on the 2nd floor and the 4th floor, which is where their banquet halls are. The 4th floor is, it's kind of an interesting story where that comes from before I even start the video here. That room they never knew about it, essentially. It had a false ceiling, and it was a bunch of offices. It was like cubicles. Well, they decided to remodel, and once they started knocking down the false ceiling and some of the walls, they realized, whoa, there's a really big open space. And they actually started looking at it from on top of where the false ceiling was, and they're like, holy crap, this is a really elegant banquet hall. So they knocked down everything, they quit making it office space, and they turned it into a banquet hall. So we'll start this gig log here. So again, some of the flashy editing. This is 4th Street Live. They have a lot of live performances here every year. Some of them are free, some are not. Steve Aoki played there on a night when I was in the hotel right across the street, and that particular crowd was EDM heavy, so I had to compete with Steve Aoki. That was not fun. But I didn't lose anybody, so that was good. The elevator system in this hall is ancient. This elevator is probably 100 years old. It's manual. And it's really hard to line up the elevator floor with the actual floor. So you end up like this, or you end up like that, or you end up like this. It's a real pain in the ass, to be quite honest with you. But it's cool. I mean, it's an inner workings of a really, really old building. I think this building's close to 120 years old. But yeah, right there you see the shop. That used to have a false ceiling and was a bunch of cubicles, offices. It's like, who in the right mind would do something like that? That's absolutely amazing. This little room here is where they usually do cocktail hour in the bar. I used one of my Maui 28 G2s in that particular room because I only needed one. I was using my QSC system in the main banquet hall. It was only 110 guests. It was probably overkill for the size, but with those 40-foot ceilings, 30, 40-foot ceilings, I needed to make sure that I, didn't have too much reverb going on. And it was also a Latin American wedding. They wanted a lot of salsa and they wanted a lot of reggaeton. So I knew they would like some bass heavy sounds, so I brought my QSC KS112s and my QSC K12.2s, and it sounded fantastic in there. I didn't have any complaints of it being too loud or the music being too soft. It worked absolutely fantastic. There's the view outside of the hall there that they use for cocktail hour. I just did a little enhancement to my ceremony system. I picked up one of those Newmark DJ to go controllers that like fits right above your track bar for where your mouse is on your laptop. Just mainly so I could have a little bit more elegance when it came to fading music in and out. When I, turn the music all the way down, I can fade it out when the bride reaches the altar or the arbor. Just to give it a little bit more elegance so it's not such an abrupt ending. Those speakers, it seems like they go from, 1 to 0 in a matter of, that much, and it almost sounds like the music just cuts off completely. The challenge with this wedding is they did the ceremony and the reception in the same room, so there was a full room flip. So uplighting, I had the 2 totems, I had the Chauvet Intimidator Spot 360s, and then I spread out the speakers as well to give the best sound performance possible. And Zach and Lillian were an absolute treat to work with. We did mostly Latin American music, but we also threw in a lot of American party classics in there. Yeah, by Usher. I played a lot of Pitbull just to kind of make sure both sides felt included. But towards the end of the night, most of the American guests left, and it left me with just the Latin American people. So I played a lot of salsa, a lot of salsa, a lot of merengue. They wanted some merengue in there as well. Didn't play any cumbia, but so mainly salsa and reggaeton was what they really wanted to hear. And as you can see, the dance floor was packed pretty much the entire night. Even when people were starting to leave, the ones that did leave early, I still had a pretty well packed dance floor most of the night. So I really couldn't complain. It was an absolute blast. It was complete opposite that fizzle out thing I was talking about. The wedding before this, the week before, I didn't have a whole lot of that at this particular wedding, and I was very, very glad for that. And the uplighting in that room was just on point. When I hit the strobes, it did any kind of color changes, anything like that. That room always looks great with uplighting in it. The only thing that I don't like about the uplighting situation in that room is those 2 pillars that you see behind the DJ booth. Those are uplit by the venue basically, and there's no switch, so you can't turn them off. I had 2 extra uplights. I could have uplit those and really did like the whole room completely uplit. But unfortunately, I didn't have anything to put over those lights to kind of black them out and then use mine. But it still looked good, and it also offers me a little bit of light to be able to work a little bit better. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of that gig log. One of the last songs I play is We Speak No Americano, which went over really, really well. The Latin crowd really liked that. They were like, "Oh, this is pretty cool. We like this guy." And then going down the elevator to load out. I love playing this venue. The load in is a beast, but it is what it is. I've got a few more weddings there this year, one on the 2nd floor, and then next year I got another one on the 4th floor. So those should be a lot of fun. So thanks for going on that little ride with me. I know that 2 gig logs to recap is a lot. There will probably be a few podcasts where I'm going to have 2 or even 3. We're going to try to recap them really fast. We'll probably just talk about the beginning and just touch a little bit on the dancing. So, toxic DJ culture is the topic of our podcast today. And, it's going to be very difficult to make this podcast to where it doesn't come off with a negative tone. And that sounds, kind of crazy because we're talking about, ways to help eradicate it and alleviate it. But it is hard to talk about this topic without, sounding negative in a way, because I'm going to give some examples. Now, just as a disclaimer, going forward with this particular episode, I'm not naming any names in the way of people that I've seen being toxic or, just being flat out rude or hateful. I don't want to go into that realm. I just want to talk about things that I have seen, things that I did, like reactions that I did. Some of them are good, some of them are terrible. Some of the reactions I had to some things are absolutely terrible, and I regret having those reactions, but it's been done. I've learned from it. One of the first places I really started noticing toxic DJ culture, believe it or not, was not on YouTube. It wasn't on any of my videos. It wasn't on any other videos of people that I subscribed to. It was in support groups on Facebook. One in particular that was really bad, and that was DJ idea sharing. I left that group about a year after being a part of it because I got so tired of seeing people that were either new in the industry or people that had been in the industry for a while, but they were trying to figure out a new technique or a new piece of gear or a new software, whatever it may be. And instead of building these people up, it was just like search and destroy. And it was always like the same 20 to 30 people. Always like, yeah, you should know this by now. You shouldn't be DJing if you don't have this. I'm like, wow, what the heck, man? I remember I asked a question in there. I don't even remember what all it was about. And I just got absolutely annihilated. And I was like, you know what? This is not productive. It is so rare to see anybody sharing ideas in DJ idea sharing anymore. I said, screw this. I'm out. And I did. I pieced out. I never looked back. And in fact, the only DJ support groups that I'm a part of on Facebook is the Video Cave. If you're not familiar with the Video Cave, check it out. It's very well monitored and regulated by the admins. They kind of search and destroy hateful comments and videos and stuff like that and get rid of them. And then I'm also part of Rate My DJ setup and Great DJ setups. And I'm also part of a DIY DJ group. And you would think that the culture in Rate My and Great DJ setups would be very toxic. But the people who are the admins of that particular page, they're really good. Like, if someone makes something like over the top hateful, they're really like, hey man, chill out. Don't make us remove you. That's not what this page is about. I've only ever gotten extremely useful, constructive criticism on both of those pages. I've never gotten the hateful, you suck, your setup's terrible, which first of all, I don't care if you don't like my setup. I don't even really care if my guests or my clients don't like my setup. What matters to me the most is the performance. Other than that, it doesn't matter if you're using a facade, or if you're using a table that's skirted. It doesn't matter if you're using a custom-made DJ booth like I use. It doesn't matter. If you can program, and when I say program, I mean be able to look at your crowd and go, okay, cool. I bet they like this, this, and this. And then you play those songs and the crowd just starts moving. The vibe starts elevating and everybody's bumping. That's what's most important. It's not about the DJ setup. It's about who's standing behind the DJ setup. Are they able to move a crowd? That's what matters to me. And I think overall, that's what matters to our guests, to our clients, first and foremost. So, yeah, I decided to get out of those toxic groups. That's one of the things that you can do when you're faced with a lot of toxicity is remove yourself from the equation so you don't have to see it anymore. It doesn't help with the concept of eradicating toxic behavior, and there's nothing that you can ever really do to fully eradicate it. But there are some things that we're going to talk about later in the podcast, that steps that you can take to get everybody on the same page and to kind of prevent it from being as prevalent as it is. So I'm going to give you some examples of this negative DJ culture. I remember someone in DJ idea sharing, they asked a question about beat mixing. They were either new or they had been doing it for a while, and they just never took the time to beat mix. And it's completely understandable. Like I said, you don't have to learn how to beat mix to DJ. I think you should at least try to learn it, but it's not a necessity, especially in this market. I'm in the Kentucky market. The vast majority of our clients do not care about mixing ability. I've even had clients ask me if I can mix and or scratch, and I tell them I can't scratch, but I do know how to mix music. And most commonly when they're asking that question, they're saying, could you not do that at our wedding? We want to hear the whole song all the way through. I know in other markets that isn't the situation, but in the Kentucky market, they want to hear most of the songs all the way through. It's actually the point. It's like, hey, if you want me to mix, I can do like the first verse and the chorus, and then we can go on to a different song. And some are like, yeah, that actually sounds fun, especially the short dance parties. You only have like an hour and a half to 2 hours to really get a party going. The ones that are really short on time, they're like, yeah, that actually sounds excellent. That way we can get more songs in as the night goes on and no one will get bored with the music. And then you've got most clients in this market that are like, no, we like to hear all this. We like to hear the whole song. So I know in other markets, East Coast, West Coast, that's not the case. They want to hear just short little snippets of their jam, and then let's move on to the next thing. So he asked a question about how to beat mix. And I just kind of laid in wait because I knew what was in store for this guy, and I felt bad for him because I knew eventually, and there were, the first couple of comments were like, oh, so you use your pitch adjusters on each side of your platters and use your ears, before, this wasn't before the sync button, but of course they're trying to teach him how to do it without using the sync button, which is the proper way. And, the first couple comments were educational. They were constructive. I would assume that the person that asked the question benefited from the first couple of questions. After that, the hyenas came in and destroyed this guy. Absolutely destroyed him. And said, man, if you haven't learned to beat mix by now, you need to get the hell out of this industry. We don't want you, and you shouldn't be a part of this group. This is for professionals only. There's no amateurs allowed. Just completely and utterly destroyed this guy. And I'm like, wow, are you serious right now? Like, this can't be real. I can't believe that. And by the way, everyone that had a negative comment never offered any advice on how to do it, which is always the case. So you'll notice a trend with a few of the stories I've got for you. That's always a trend. They never have anything constructive to say to benefit or to answer the question for that particular person. It is all about destroying them and belittling them and making them feel like an outcast. I'll give you another example. This happened to me, and this actually happened on YouTube. I didn't stick around idea sharing and some of the other support groups long enough to even get completely destroyed, so I just said, screw it. But there's a particular DJ on YouTube who has a really big following. He's like 4,000 subscribers. And he loves to go on people's videos and troll. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's just trolling. Not going to mention names. Some of you watching this podcast know exactly who I'm talking about. We had a long conversation about this particular person when I was at Expo with Rachel and Lou and a few of the others. And ironically, the Sunday, Monday after I got back from Expo, after the Hotel Distill gig log, I get a message in my inbox on Facebook from a pretty well-known DJ. And I'll mention his name because we're not talking about him. It was Logan Smith, DJ Low Stacks. And he said, dude, check this out. And he sent me a screenshot of what this DJ said. And there was nothing constructive. There was no advice. Well, actually, there was some advice in there. The advice was, the comment, not exactly as it reads, but said, wow, weak MC skills. Maybe you should try taking a couple of shots before you get on the microphone. What? Okay, so first of all, I'm one of those DJs. Yes, I'm the DJ that's like, yes, eat at your events. Get your protein, get your vegetables, get your fuel so you don't pass out at this wedding. But I'm also on the wagon of, I don't drink at weddings, ever. It's not a good look. If something were to happen, even if you only had one drink, suddenly it is, oh man, the DJ was drunk. Did you see him? He took a shot, or he was drinking beer. And then, the telephone game starts. Yeah, I heard he had like 4 beers and he was just stumbling drunk. And it typically probably isn't the case, but to remove yourself from that situation, just don't drink. So the fact that the advice that he offered was to take a couple of shots before he got on the microphone, I was just like, no, that's terrible advice. Don't do that. Don't do that. So and Logan knew right away. I was like, all right, this guy's crap. And he knew he recognized the name because he had seen him in the comment section in a couple of my videos. Now, this guy, I blocked him back in 2019. He decided to start making a bunch of negative comments on my videos. He made a bunch of negative comments on Lou Paris's and on Rachel's and a bunch of other DJs. And it just got like, okay, dude. One of them, I lost my temper. I reacted. I'm pretty sure the comment is still in the comment section of that particular video. And that was my fault. I shouldn't have fed into it. I fed the troll. And he just kept coming back for more because he knew I got a rise out of him. Plus, I also visited his YouTube channel. And I clicked on a few of his videos. And that's exactly what he wants. He wants to get that increased traffic onto his page, whether it's negative or positive, because that helps his algorithm. So, my bad. I should have not fed the troll. And I'm not calling him names. It's exactly what he's doing. He's trolling. He's doing this to get a reaction and to help his page algorithm because he's getting increased traffic. Well, I thought it stopped there. Well, I went to Burn Boot Camp. I always do the noon classes on Tuesdays. I'm sorry, this was Tuesday morning, not Monday morning. I'm sorry. I get done. I have a message on Instagram from DJ Danny B. And he goes, man, do you know this DJ on YouTube? And he sends me a screenshot. I'm like, oh my God, really? He got him too? Like, does this guy not have anything better to do than just go on people's videos and troll? And Danny B was pretty upset. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm not going to say anything he said in the message, but let's just say he was pretty pissed. And, a bunch of us on YouTube went on to Low Stack's video and we commented back to this particular person. And it wasn't anything rude. It wasn't anything mean. What I said was like, I actually feel sorry for this person. I feel sorry for him because instead of using his talent and his time to give constructive criticism and actually educate, he just wants to belittle people, to feed his own ego, and to get increased traffic to his YouTube page. That's ultimately his goal. And I sit and I think back everything that I have to do every single day that involves my business. And I'm pretty sure that my wife gets angry with me sometimes. And I know it's a huge sacrifice when it comes to spending time with my kids. The upshot of that is I do work from home. So I am home a lot for the kids. But, I have a very busy life. Outside of just the DJ realm, I work out every single day, at least 5 days a week anyway, whether it's on the bike or I'm going to Burn Boot Camp or I go to the Planet Fitness and actually just do some powerlifting. And then, I've got 2 kids. I've got a 2-year-old and I've got a 7-year-old. My 7-year-old's active in gymnastics. She likes to play t-ball. My 2-year-old is just off the rails. The whole shutdown, the whole pandemic has my son just kind of messed up. He's going to have some social anxiety to deal with when he gets a little older. He's already starting to deal with some of it now because he's been isolated for more than half of his life. And he turned 1, and then 2-3 months later, we went into shutdown, and he wasn't going out anywhere. And it's kind of sad, really, because he's to the point now to where if I go into Walmart and I don't have my mask on, he's like, Daddy, mask. I'm like, it's okay, babe. I don't have to wear when I'm vaccinated. So yeah, and on top, he's become very antisocial because, we didn't let him play with a whole lot of kids during the whole panic because we didn't know what we were dealing with. We didn't know if it was going to be super bad, super good, or not super good. We didn't know what it was going to be, and we didn't know how it was going to affect children. Now, thankfully, this virus has not plagued children nearly as bad as SARS did. But anyway, I wasn't the only one that went on that particular comment. I know Rachel posted a pretty lengthy one, and it was not mean. It was constructive. And what happened is, and it's something I've never seen this particular person do, he actually deleted the comment, which deleted all of ours. Danny B went on there too. We won't talk about what Danny B said. There was some, Danny B's Hispanic, so there was some Spanish words thrown around there. We won't talk about that. But Danny B, I love you. I love you, brother. I do. I hope you're watching this particular podcast. I do love you. Always good conversation with Danny B. But I'd never seen him delete a comment before. And according to Logan, he left another comment saying we took what he said out of context. And I was like, I would believe that, except for the times he's commented on my videos, that he's commented on Lou's videos, Rachel's videos, Danny B's videos, Logan's videos. And that's just, the inside the bubble of people that I communicate with on a, pretty much constant basis. Me and Logan are always throwing ideas around. Me and Danny B talk quite often. And of course, Rachel and Lou, we talk quite a bit. We even have our own little group chat on Facebook now. And, I hated to even keep bringing the whole topic up. I'm like, guys, you're not going to believe this. And I sent them the screenshot that Logan sent me, and they were like, this guy again. And that's what prompted everyone to kind of go in and just say, dude, we feel sorry for you. We do. We really hope that one day you wake up and realize this is not the way to network. This is not the way to get your foot in the door when it comes to, being one of these DJs that's kind of looked up to. So to me, that's tragic, right? I mean, I'm not going to say it's pathetic, but that's not the right way to go and get views on your channel. It's just not the right way to do it. It's a quick way to get a bunch of thumbs downs on your videos, and which is not good for your algorithm. So not a great approach. And, he'll never see this video because he's blocked on my channel. You can sift through my channel and try to find who I'm talking about, but I'm not going to be the person to completely throw it out there and as to who he is. I'm not going to give him that kind of time. And I hope one day, I really do hope one day, he kind of grows up and wakes up and realizes this isn't the way I should be doing this. So those are just some examples of some of the toxic behavior that I see on social media when it comes to the DJ world. And it's sad because we should be building people up. We should be supporting each other. We shouldn't be here completely just chastising each other. We should be educating each other to form an overall better, more cohesive environment for us to work in so we can all excel at what we're doing. We shouldn't be tearing each other down. But, like they said in one of the Batman movies, some people just like to watch the world burn, and there's no hope for those people. But there are some steps to kind of, instead of getting those people are trying to make others feel like outcasts. The goal is to try to make them an outcast so they can see and learn and understand that what they're doing is not cool. It's not representative of who we are as DJs. And hopefully they wake up and realize that and say, man, I feel real bad. We're not expecting apologies or anything like that, but hopefully it changes some behaviors. And we'll talk about those steps here in a minute. So where does this toxicity come from? Ego versus talent. And that's how I always explain it to people. I'm going to throw this out there. I was actually going to save this particular topic for another podcast, but you know what? It fits. The shoe fits in this particular situation. So anytime I work with a photographer, videographer, a caterer, a venue, whatever, that I've never worked with before, once we sit down and we actually start, some dialogue, I always ask them this question because I'm curious. And I always ask them, what is the one vendor you dread working with at every wedding you go to? And the answer overwhelmingly is the DJ. So it's become such a topic of conversation that it no longer surprises me that that's their answer. In fact, if they say the florist or the caterer or what, if they say someone other than the DJ, I'm actually shocked. I'm like, oh, wow. For once, it's not the DJ. That says a lot about what's going on in our industry. Now, this is leading me to the whole ego thing. DJs are known to be egotists. We are. And for justifiable reasons, we have to have some ego built into us. It takes a certain amount of ego to get on a microphone and talk in front of hundreds of people that we've never met. It's a difficult thing to do. In fact, emceeing is almost just as important as your programming skills, because if you cannot command the attention of a crowd while you're speaking, you're going to have a really hard time with engagement, and that will flow into the dancing portion of the night. If you can't engage them with speaking, how are you going to engage them with music? So yes, it does take a certain amount of ego to be able to hand yourself a microphone and talk in front of hundreds of people. Some DJs let their egos get a little too big. And I think that's where a lot of this toxicity kind of starts. They're like, oh, okay, well, I know I'm good. In fact, I am the best. I'm the best in my market, and no one can tell me otherwise. And if anyone tries to tell me otherwise, I'm just going to tell them to go F themselves. And you know what? I think I'm going to tell everybody that I'm better than them. Typically, this behavior derives from some kind of insecurity. This is just basic psychology. When you are bullied, when the person that is bullying someone, typically what they're picking on that person for is a flaw or a fallacy within themselves. It's something they know within themselves that is not working right. So they choose to pick on others to make themselves feel better, to make them feel like they're at a more advantaged position. Ego to me is the greed of our consciousness. It will just destroy you if you let your ego run amok. Sometimes it is okay and it's almost mandatory that you should put your ego into check. That was one of the great things about going to DJ Expo, because I was surrounded by tons of DJs that were just better than me. And it humbles you. And you should be humbled every now and then, because it's going to keep you grounded. So you got ego versus talent. And these two things clash all the time. You've got a lot of DJs that got a ton of ego. But are they really talented? They may not be. So they make up for that lack of talent with their ego. And that is what kind of allows them to destroy others. It makes them feel better about themselves. Any kind of bully in any situation, doesn't matter if it's like a playground bully when you're in elementary school, or if it's, on social media when it comes to support groups, especially in the DJ world. Anytime someone is picking on you or saying that you're trash or that you should have known this already or whatever it may be, it's typically an inconsistency or a flaw within within themselves. And they don't know how to fix it. They don't know how to fix it. They don't know how to adjust it. So they just start picking on everybody to make themselves feel better, to feed their ego. Ladies and gentlemen, do not feed your ego. It's good to have a little bit of ego. It's good to be confident. You need to be confident in this industry. Because if you're not confident in this industry will chew you up and spit you out. You've got to have a certain degree of confidence and competence. But it's not knowing when to check those things, that's when it really becomes very toxic for you. Because eventually you're going to start treating others in a manner that you would not want to be treated. And some of these people are probably toxic because they were treated toxically when they entered the arena. So their only way of, corresponding with someone that they think is beneath them is to trash them. It doesn't make any sense, but that's probably where a lot of it derives from. And like I said, I feel sorry for these people because, you should work on your weaknesses and openly talk about your weaknesses. Like I said, I can't scratch. I've tried so many times to scratch, and I'm to the point now, scratching, it's just not for me. It's not for me. So I don't even go anywhere near it. But I'm not going to start demonizing other people because they can't do something that I can do, like beat mixing or, song selection. I'm not even the best at those things either. I still struggle with certain things, but I work on them. I know my opportunities. I know my weaknesses, and I take steps, as many steps as I can, to work on those things, to improve myself and to make myself not just a better DJ, but a better business person. So, what are some of the things that we can do to combat this stuff? Well, it goes in steps, obviously. And, there's kind of a 5-step program that we can look at. One of the first things that you can do is, the first thing you have to do is recognize that it exists and that it's a problem. It's one of the main reasons why I'm making this particular podcast. This is one I've been waiting to do for a long time, too. I just wanted to do it at the right time. You got to recognize that it exists and that it is a problem. And I think we are well past that. This past 7 days has definitely been a testament to that. I was like, well, this is actually happening at a perfect time because my next podcast was going to be about this regardless of the situation. But now it just gives me more ammunition to talk about. It gives me more ammo. As leaders, and I'm not saying that I'm a DJ leader, I'm not a leader, creator, whatever you want to call it. But, I have done leadership seminars, as in I've given presentations. I've been in leadership programs most of my adult life. When I was in high school, I was made class leader for my ROTC program. When I became a senior, I was actually the commanding officer for my ROTC program. Right after that, I went into college. I was immediately kind of identified as a go-to person within the culinary world. After college wasn't for me, by the way. Hated it, absolutely hated it. After I got out of college, I entered the workforce and was immediately recognized as a leader. I was made a trainer in the position that I was in. I later became a manager, where I seemed to have done a pretty good job. I seemed to flourish. I got a lot of awards and recognition for certain things that I did. And then I left the restaurant world and started focusing on DJing full time. But in between then, I did a lot of training reform programs for a couple of companies to help get their training restructured. One of those things was recognized as being called the Foundations of Leadership. So I've been thrown into a lot of leadership roles my entire life. It was never anything intentional. It just kind of happened, which I've extrapolated into my DJ work by my speaking abilities. I think is one of my biggest strengths. I'm able to speak clearly. I'm able to convey the message. I think I do tend to ramble unless I have some kind of structure, which I do have structure to some of these podcasts. So if you see me looking down, that's exactly what I'm doing. So as leaders, one of the first things that we can do is accept responsibility. This is step 2 in the 5-step process, by the way. Accepting responsibility is knowing our weaknesses and also kind of reflecting. It's like, I reacted to that, like the comment that I reacted to from this particular DJ on YouTube. Shouldn't have reacted that way. I cursed at him. I gave him exactly what he wanted. And that's my fault. I was the one who was completely out of line and unprofessional, not him in that case. And I do regret that. I absolutely do. But I'm also not going to go and delete the comment either, because I'm going to accept responsibility for it. Yes, I said that. I made myself look like a complete and total ass. And I'm not going to do that again. So accepting responsibility and realizing that we are not perfect is, especially when it comes to being in a leadership position or a looked up to role, accepting responsibility is huge. Taking self-accountability is one of the most important things that you can do in a leadership role. It's sad because there's not any accountability in American politics and government. It's always someone else's fault. That's a conversation for a different day, but it's one of the things that disgusts me about American politics is there is no accountability, none whatsoever. And accountability is one of the most important foundations of leadership, whether it's holding someone else accountable or yourself. So accepting responsibility is huge, especially if you're in a leadership role or you're in a looked up to role. Accepting responsibility might be one of the most important steps, because it rolls over to the 3rd step, which is be part of the solution and not part of the problem. Me giving the negative comment back to that particular DJ on my video was me being part of the problem, 100%. And I'll be the first one to admit it. I shouldn't have reacted like that. I shouldn't have let it get to me. I'm not going to make any excuses as to why I did. I can sit here and say, I was just pissed. That doesn't make it right. I'm going to accept the responsibility that I was part of the problem. I didn't do anything to curb it. And there's things I do now to kind of curb that kind of behavior. But yeah, I was definitely part of the problem that day. And now I'm more focused on being part of the solution. Now, with that being said, the 4th step is to speak up. Don't just, don't roll over and let the comment or that kind of behavior be accepted. Don't, you turn the other cheek, but you do it in a different way. And I think a great way to do it is exactly what I did when I commented on this particular DJ's comment on Low Stack's video. I was like, man, I actually feel sorry for you. I do. I feel bad for you because I cannot imagine being in such a negative mindset to where all I want to do is bash and belittle other DJs for doing their thing. I really hope one day you realize that this isn't the way to connect with people. It's not how you should be networking with other DJs. And I hope you learn that one day. I really do, because I want to see you grow. I want to see you learn, and I want to see you excel. As much as I dislike that person, I don't wish harm on anybody. I don't wish failure on anybody. I hope he excels at what he's doing. And he better. He's in Southern California. It's as far as I'll go into as this particular DJ's location. He's in SoCal. And it's tight competition in that area of the country, folks. So I hope he wakes up and learns. But don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. And Low Stack's comment back to him was absolutely elegant. This isn't word for word. I don't have it anywhere near me to show you or to read it off. But he said, thank you for the comment. I've seen a couple of your videos too, and I don't appreciate the negative comments. Pretty much all he said. He didn't attack the guy. I thought Logan handled it beautifully. And then when the other DJs kind of piled on with that same manner of like, wow, man, really? You're just going to do that? That's not cool. I mean, come on, we should be building each other up. Obviously, it got to this guy. We didn't feed the troll this time. And instead, we kind of whipped him. And he probably felt a little defeated, which is probably why he deleted the comment, which, well, like I said earlier, is something I've never seen this particular guy do before. And he deleted the other comment, too, where he said that people took what he said out of context. And I'm pretty sure people are like, yeah, we'd believe that, but we've seen your comments on other people's videos, too. So nice try. But the most important part is step number 5, and that's forming a coalition and get everyone on the same page. And that is exactly what brings me to this part of the podcast. So I've already talked to Lou about this, talked to Rachel. I've talked to a few other DJs. And what I'm proposing, I'm gonna message DJ Barr. I'm gonna message Rick Webb. And just so you guys know, if you're watching this podcast, you're gonna be getting contacted by me. I would love to pick a date and a time for us to all upload a 2 to 3 minute long video addressing the end to toxic DJ culture, the end of toxic DJ culture. Just talk about, we should be building each other up instead of tearing each other down. We are a community, and we really are. I mean, if you've ever been to any kind of expo or convention, this was my first one 2 weeks ago, I learned very quickly that we are not just friends. We're not just a community. We are family. I mean, we are family. I met people I've never met before, and it felt like I was meeting with old friends. Like I said in the last podcast, it didn't feel like I was meeting them for the first time. It felt like I had known them my whole life. Like I went to grade school with them. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. That's where we need to be as a DJ community. We need to be building each other up instead of tearing each other down. So forming a coalition and getting everyone on the same page, it would be just a beautiful thing to see all of the major creators. And I don't even consider myself a major creator, guys. I'm sitting at like 821 subscribers right now, which is awesome. I've grown over 100 in 2 weeks, but it's never been about subs for me. It never has been. It would just be awesome to see all of the top DJ creators on YouTube make a 2 to 3 minute long video. We all pick a date and a specific time for all of our videos to drop all at once addressing this entire situation. Will it make a dent? It probably not. I mean, there's going to be toxic DJ culture no matter what. We're never going to be able to completely eradicate it, but maybe, just maybe, if we can make 2 or 3 or even 10 people say to themselves, oh, wow, I've done stuff like that, and I feel like crap. I mean, the point isn't to make them feel like crap, obviously, but is to at least let them see, the errors in their way, and maybe they can adjust. Maybe there is something that they're insecure about, and maybe they'll open up about it. Maybe they'll say, yeah, you know what? I'm not so good at that myself, and I really tore that person down. Maybe I should reach out for help and learn something more about that. Whether it's scratching, beat mixing, music programming, even gear selection, simple things like that. I don't care if you use Serato, if you use Virtual DJ. I don't care if you use Denon DJ or Pioneer. I don't care if you use Chave or American DJ or JMaz or any of the other lighting companies for that matter. What I care about is, are you creating success for yourself? Are you making money? And are you having fun? I mean, ultimately, those 3 things right there are the essence of why we are in the business that we are in. We're here to make money. We're here to have fun. And we are here because we love to do what we do. And we love to see the reactions of our clients when they're 100% pleased with what we've done. That to me is the ultimate reward. Sometimes the monetary value of your gig isn't the most important thing. It's the art of the craft. It's the looks on the faces of the crowd when you hit those impact moments, like the first dance and your sparklers go off, or during the first dance when you change the uplighting or the entire scene of the room. No matter what it is, those impact moments. That's what it's all about. Are you creating success for that? Are you being a contributor to our community and not tearing people down and just completely destroying them? That's what I envision. And for the most part, more often than not, there are a lot of people really trying to help, really trying to build the community up. And those are the people I applaud and I say thank you, because we don't have a whole lot of that in our community. We're getting more of it thanks to things like YouTube, but more is always appreciated. So hopefully one day, instead of this really small group of DJs that are trying to just make everybody else feel like outcasts, hopefully through our efforts and our behavior and our examples, we don't make them feel like outcasts, but we make them understand that what they did, what they said, and what they are doing is just not cool, and it's not welcome in our community. We're here to build each other up. We're here to support each other. That's what's most important. One of the last things I want to talk about is it's okay to have haters. If you have haters, you're probably doing things right. Because typically, no one has haters unless they're really good at what they do. Nobody that sucks at what they do has haters. They just don't, because it's kind of like, well, he's trying at least. I mean, that's kind of my output. It's like, at least he's trying, he's got a long way to go, and he's new. He'll get there, So I offer my words of encouragement. I give any kind of, advice or constructive criticism I possibly can. And hopefully they take it to heart and they don't take it as an insult. And that's the other thing. There's also a lot of people who are trying to help, and people, they get in the defense mode. Don't do that. We're not trying to break you down and make you feel bad. If we're offering you advice, if you don't like the advice, that's cool. That is absolutely 100% fine. But just know, most of the time, we are just trying to help. You don't have to take the advice. You can take it or leave it. Take it with a grain of salt if you want to. And then, we can all move on. But just know, if I've ever given any advice, it's never to break anyone down. It's just, it's to help as much as I possibly can. At the very least, I just want to help us build a better community and a more cohesive group of people. So it's okay to have haters. The more haters you have, the better you're doing. So keep rocking it out. So just to kind of summarize everything that we talked about, toxic DJ culture is something that's never going to fully go away. And I understand that completely. And my goal isn't to completely eradicate it, because I tend to set very realistic goals for myself. And I know completely eradicating it just really it's not a realistic goal. And we're never going to put a fork in it. It's always going to be around. But hopefully with this podcast, I've given some advice on how you can handle it should it ever happen to you. And it will. Someone's always going to be out there to make that hateful comment. They're going to be out there to troll. They're going to be out there to belittle. Because like I said, they have insecurities about themselves, and they tend to pick on people who have the same insecurities. Don't let those people bother you. Don't even let those people faze you. It's not worth your time. And they shouldn't even be making it worth their time to go out on a limb and do that kind of stuff. So just know and look, if you have to, even if you have to Google, how do I react to toxicity in the workplace? There's nothing wrong with that. It's going to happen. It's okay to research on how to handle it. Find the style that you want to go with, but try your very best to not go to their level. Okay. Like I said, let them be the outcast. Don't let them invite you into the club, the toxic DJ club. Let them stay in their own little world, because eventually they're going to get real lonely over there, and they're just going to learn how to play nice, or they're going to never really be invited into this cool kids club that we got going on here. So hopefully with this podcast, you all have learned something from it. I know just in researching some of this stuff, I've learned a little bit as well, things that I can extrapolate into my life and into my business, how to interact with those people who do decide to cast some shade at me. I'm not going to turn the other cheek, but I'm also not going to stoop to their level either. I'm like, you know what? I feel sorry for you, bro. I hope this is something that you grow out of eventually, because I think you've got greatness in you. So let's see that shine. Let's not let this negativity completely overfeed your ego to where you're this egomaniac and all you want to do is belittle people and put people down. It's not what this business is about. And quite frankly, it's not welcome in our community. We want friendly people who are here to help, that are here to teach, that are here to offer great advice. That's what it is all about. And most importantly, it's all about pleasing our clients, having success, and making some money. Those three things right there. Anyway, folks, that is it for me. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Again, if you liked it, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. That way it helps this video, especially this video, of all videos I ever make. Let this one be the one that gets the most recognition. Share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram. The link is, right there. Hit the share button. It's right there. It's right there. If you're watching this on your phone, definitely hit the share button, share it to your social media, tag your DJ friends in it. Let's get them involved. And, if anyone wants to reach out to me about us actually picking a day to do this mass upload addressing toxic DJ behavior and how it just is not cool, let me know. I want to help. I'm here to help as much as I possibly can. Anyway, like I said, guys, that is it. Y'all have a great Tuesday and have a good one. We'll see you again soon. Bye.